Hey everybody, happy Saturday. Uh, I was going to do this video last weekend and I figured I better cool down before I do it. Uh, I didn't pick anything up. I haven't picked anything up this week. Um, last weekend, and it wasn't last weekend, it wasn't all bad at all, but it only takes one thing to just totally deflate it. Um, my son and I went down to Cincinnati Saturday morning. Uh, he wanted to go see a ball game down there, so took Dad along with him, and I've been through Cincinnati, been there a few times as a kid, to see family friends, and never been there as an adult. So we take off, and just two guys out having a blast, just having fun, laughing, joking, having a good old time. We get down there and we actually stayed across about 15 minutes from the ballpark in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. So we get to the hotel, we check in, chill out for a little bit, and head up to the ballpark. And everything's going great. And mind you, beautiful ballpark. And we get in there, and of course, the weather last weekend was hot and muggy and just blah. Matter of fact, first pitch, it was 95 degrees with 98% humidity at almost 7 p.m. So I make the decision to run down, get us a couple of pops, and something to munch on. He didn't want anything to munch on, but me, my inner fat kid, I'm at the ballpark, I'm gonna grab something good. So I go down and I go to this particular concession stand, and something that's a staple in the Cincinnati area is Skyline Chili, and I remember it as a kid being really good stuff. So I order, some chili cheese nachos and a couple of large pops because, got to get the souvenir cup. And the guy hands me my nachos and the two pops, and that's it. Okay, there's no lids for the pop, no straws, no trays to put your stuff in. And that might be fine if there's two of you there, or if you have coordination, which I don't always have. I've been very open on here and to people around me about my disability, and it's not always visible. I really work hard to hide it, to be honest with you. But I asked this guy, dude, what, no trays, no nothing like that? And he just looked at me like I had three heads. And he goes, no. I said, okay. I saw him. How are people supposed to deal with this stuff if they have disabilities and have trouble hanging on to things, or in my case, part of my problem is after the surgery I had to save my foot, I don't have balance on steep steps as you would come across in a ballpark, football stadium, ice arena, whatever. And I depend on the railings for me to get up and down. And his exact words to me, and I quote, and I try to keep things G-rated, but I'm quoting him, was, tough shit, that's the rules. So basically what you just told me is people with disabilities are not welcome at the ballpark. Yeah, I could have had my son go down and get it, but I thought I'd be the cool dad and go down and do things. So they expect you to walk up and down stairs with 2 of these, the big size cup, no lid. So as you're walking, this thing is doing this, it's splashing around. And then while you're carrying 2 of these, you're also supposed to be able to carry this, which these are like what, they still put ice cream sundaes in, but bigger. You're supposed to walk upstairs with those. And fortunately, and part of what happens is, because this was the side that I had all the problems with, as those muscles start to get tired or overworked, et cetera, my hand has a tendency to want to curl in. So if you saw me, you would think that I had possibly had a stroke, or maybe that I have a form of CP, which, so yes, I made it back up to the seats, barely. Thankfully, my son was paying attention and saw me coming and actually said to the older couples sitting behind us, my dad's in trouble, and came flying down the stairs to help me, because I was hunched over looking at the stairs, not looking where I was going, to prevent myself, because if I stand upright on those stairs, I'm going backwards. I'm going down. But I say to the Cincinnati Reds, I say to Skyline Chili, and I say to Great American, whatever the hell Great American is, got their name all over the ballpark, shame on you. Because as simple as that may seem to some people, that's blatant disregard for ADA. You don't care about your disabled fans, your disabled customers. Okay. If a person's in a wheelchair, whether it be manual or power, you've got to have hands free to get yourself around. So you're not welcome to come get stuff at the concession stands? Come on. Really? This is 2025. Everybody is supposed to be accepted. Everybody is supposed to be welcome anywhere. And then, and this doesn't have anything to do with ADA, but it's just stupidity on their part. The shop at the stadium, you get there, you just decide you want to go and buy a new ball cap. You want to buy a souvenir baseball for the kids or whatever. Okay, well, I've grown up going to Tiger Stadium where there wasn't a shop. You went to the different stands within the stadium, or Comerica Park, where they have a big store, and yes, they have a door to the outside, but that door gets locked an hour and a half, 2 hours before game time, and it's solely for people that are at the game. Same thing when you go down to Toledo for the Mud Hens games. Not in Cincinnati. Now, mind you, you've already come into the park, you've picked up your beverages, you picked up your snacks, you picked up stuff inside the stadium, and now you go in there. They scan your ticket before you go in there, and then when you're done shopping, you can't come back out into the ballpark. You have to go out the door and around and back through security so they can scrutinize, and they don't want to let you back in with the stuff that you bought inside the park. What are you doing, Cincinnati? Again, beautiful ballpark, great atmosphere up to the point where they start treating you substandardly. So my assessment of the whole situation, we won't be going back to the Great American Ballpark. And after that, I won't talk so much smack about Comerica Park. I still don't like Comerica Park, but I like it a lot better than Cincinnati. Now, the rest of the weekend, as short as it was, we had a blast. Like I said, we were staying in Kentucky. If my inner fat kid had his way, we would have stayed. Good old-fashioned Southern cooking at its finest. Oh, my goodness. And yes, I know some people will laugh, but I think the highlight of our weekend for both of us was on Sunday morning before we headed home. We actually made the trip another hour and a half south and went to Buc-ee's. That was cool. Crazy, but cool. We've already decided we need to make another trip down there on a weekday when it's not so chaotic. Went in there, got a bunch of goodies, a lot of stuff that neither one of us have any business munching on or whatever. But hey, don't do it all the time. And I joke around now, as those of you that follow college football, we got in there, got our stuff, and my son looked like the Heisman Trophy with the as he headed for the cash register. Come on, Dad, let's go. That's what I'm still looking at. All right, let's go. Okay, we're out. But just be mindful of the people around you. I'm not a whiner. Never have been, never will be. I don't try to use my disability as a crutch. As a matter of fact, I try to avoid even letting anybody know I have it. But if you're treating me that way, how are you treating the older person that walks with a cane and only has one hand to work with because they're hanging onto a cane? Or, again, somebody in a wheelchair, somebody that might be missing a limb. Just be mindful. And I'm not saying anybody on here is like what happened last Saturday. I'm not saying that at all. Just be mindful of the people around you, and not just of what you can see. Be mindful of what you can't see. And I know some people were looking for me to be beating my fists and screaming and hollering. I'm not going to do that. But just pay attention. That's all I'm asking. All right, everybody. Like I said, I didn't really pick anything up. I came across 3 tubes of 1973 copper quarters. Jeez, copper pennies. Picked them up. Got them in my penny guard house box. Nothing too spectacular there. I say 1973 is a good vintage because that's my vintage. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to wrap it up. I know this is a really long one, even for me. We will see you Monday night. Monday Night Live, flying by the seat of our pants with Cranky and I. Hope you guys can pop in and join us. And with that, I will wrap it up. Keep stacking, keep haunting. Be mindful and take care of each other. All right, everybody. We'll see you soon. Michi's out.